Hello, welcome to the Combo Club. I am your host, Jamil Payne. With me, as always, is our very own quarantine dancing queen, Amanda Comey. Amanda, how are you today?
I am I'm not sure.
Oh,
I'm gonna find out as we will discover together all of our emotions and feelings today.
okay. So today, number one, let me say happy anniversary, Amanda. It's our 50th episode. We've made it to 50 episodes.
Wow.
Can you believe it?
I can.
So, okay. Like, well, I'm shocked that I've stuck with it this long. So that makes one of us. Uh,
I mean, I'm also proud of us for sticking with it, but like I feel like this is such a normal part of my life now. I'm not surprised that we've gotten up to 50.
I love the fact that this is just like what we do now a couple of times a month. I actually like build my like Saturdays around this show when I have to do it. Like
Yeah,
like if I need to do something, like, well, I can't do it till about 11. Why? I got a show at 9. Like,
especially now when schedules are so weird and it's like you don't even know there isn't even content for conversations with people normally, and then my husband's like, oh, do we have any plans this weekend? And I'm like, actually one of us is cool enough to have plans. I'm still doing stuff.
like thank God I got plans, right? Just like
Yeah.
something. I'm so sick of looking at my phone, Amanda. Okay, but yeah, so since this is our 50th episode, and I figured we'll do like something special. Like we do superhero comics. We do a lot of superhero comics, but we do other stuff. But I figured since this is our 50th episode, we do one of the big ones. And I consider
Mm,
this one of the big ones. There's a few ones. There's like a Fandy War. Excuse me, like Fandy Gauntlet. That's like a big one. Like this is a big one. Dark Phoenix. That's another big one. You know what I'm saying? Unlike the other ones, this is a modern day big one. This is a modern day classic, if you will, for some people. So
yes.
today we are reading Civil War, and we are reviewing the was it 2015, I
I think
believe,
it was 16.
2016 adaptation of this comic, Captain America: Civil War. So that's what we're doing today. Civil War is a 2006 comic written by Mark Miller and drawn beautifully by Steve McNiven. It ran from July 2006 to January 2007. It consists of 7 issues, and it reads: Whose side are you on? A conflict is brewing that threatens to pit friend against friend, brother against brother, and all it would take is a single misstep to cost thousands of their lives and ignite a fuse. As the war claims its first victims, no one is safe as teams, friendship, and families begin to fall apart, and the Marvel Universe superheroes go to war against each other. So, Amanda, what did you think of the comic Civil War? Bum bum bum.
uh so I it's funny. I was very familiar with the premise, even before the movie came out a few years ago, just through sort of cultural osmosis and just comic book shit talking. Um, I still think the premise is pretty good in terms of like how do you just get all the superheroes to fight each other,
Mm-hmm.
which is the fun part. But there was so much about this that just felt not really thought through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it made me very disappointed with a lot of the characters for them just being so stupid. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I think my biggest issue was that sort of the premise of being a masked vigilante is that the cops, you're so good, the cops and the authorities wouldn't be able to catch you.
Right.
And you're going after the bad guys who are so good that the cops and the normal authorities can't handle them. So it seems really, really odd that the premise of all of this is that any organization, including S.H.I.E.L.D., thinks that they could wrangle the superheroes that wrangle the villains they can't get to.
Okay.
So if S.H.I.E.L.D. had the resources and the authority to be monitoring and handling superheroes, why can't they just take care of the fucking villains and then we don't need any superheroes? like if they took all of the energy that they had and all the resources they had and like these super, ultimate max prisons for superheroes and just use them on the villains, problem solved.
Okay.
Get rid of the supervillains. We don't need the superheroes.
Right. You know what? That took an interesting turn. I ain't expect you to go that way. Okay. All right. So for me,
it just
okay,
makes
go
sense.
ahead.
Like if you think that you could suddenly track down Spider-Man and keep him, contained without his consent, then just take care of all of Spider-Man's villains, and I promise he will go back to just going to school and hanging out with his friends. Right?
Right, exactly. Okay.
That's the whole point, is that the superheroes are compensating for a gap in resources and, technology that the government doesn't have.
You know what?
That's my whole thing.
You know what, Amanda? That's why you on this show. I've never ever thought about it like that. In all these years, that has never crossed my mind. You are absolutely right. Which makes this story even worse now than already how bad I feel it is.
Well, it just means if that was a thought that Miller had when writing this, it could have still been an interesting story if it had been about the hubris of normal humans thinking they could replace superheroes.
Right.
But that would have involved some sort of conflict with a central villain coming through, where the world realized that they're like, oh, we have superheroes to handle threats we can't handle. If we just took care of like the petty crime, we wouldn't need these sea-level kids messing stuff up for us, which was really the problem.
Right. Okay. Are you done?
So, I'm done with that. I'm sorry. I just, that was such a clear, fundamental, logical problem with all of this for me.
Okay.
But what were some of your
man, I got so many gripes. Now I have a new one. Thanks, Amanda.
You're welcome.
No, so this is my problem, right? It's the fact, in my opinion, they never make a good argument on why superheroes are needed and why superheroes need. Okay, so look, the problem is the Marvel universe don't do a lot of secret identities as it is, right? If you notice, most of the people fighting in this dumbass war, everybody already know who they are.
Yeah.
Like there's not a whole lot of people know who Luke Cage is. People know who Tigra is. People know who Captain America is. He's freaking Steve Rogers. Everybody knows that. So what the fuck are y'all fighting for? The 8 people that do keep a secret identity?
See, that's interesting. I didn't even think it was about the secret identities.
Well, no. There's other parts to this too.
Yeah.
But that's how it started, right? Don't forget, you say that, right? But what is it? The second issue or the first issue? The big moment everybody remembers from this comic, besides the cover of Captain America and on whatchamacallit fighting, is Spider-Man unmasking himself. And I think even Captain America brought that up. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? There's some of us that have to keep a secret identity to keep our family safe, but there's so few that are not known. You know what I'm saying? There's so few like Spider-Man and Daredevil are the two main ones that pop in my mind. I think maybe Kamala Khan, basically like a lot of the Spider people, but for the most part, people don't really have secret identities in Marvel like that. I mean, there are some, but I'm trying to think. People know who Thor is. He's a guy. People know who Captain. People know who. Like, just look at the Avengers. Everybody know who Hawkeye is. Scarlet Witch, fucking Quicksilver, Captain
Iron
America,
Man.
Iron Man, like Hank Pym, Janet Pym, like just in the own main hero group. I'm not for sure about that. I
Fantastic Four.
think the first family, the first superheroes of this universe, right? Everybody know who these people are. They like this story would work so much better if it was in DC.
Yeah.
Like this story, like then like you have all these characters acting, all these superheroes acting wildly out of character. Like nobody are acting like they established shells. Captain America is damn near a psychopath in this. Then I remember who's writing it, right? Because you gotta understand, you know, Mark Miller invented Ultimate Captain America, who's like a like super patriotic, like hard ass, you know, this A doesn't stand for France type of person, right? And he brought a lot of that personality to this Captain America. And like he pretty much made Tony damn near a villain. Like, it's just like everybody's acting weird. And like the way shit escalated, it's so odd. You remember I texted you? I said,
Yeah.
hey, when you get to this certain part, explain to me what happened in here. Cause like, as far as I know, Marie Hill, hey, are you gonna hunt down your friends? She was like, no. Okay, we gonna shoot you. What?
Yeah.
He didn't even say he was gonna start resistance yet. Like you almost like, and there's no like reckoning with that.
No, everybody seems a little bit maybe these are our quarantine lockdown versions of the characters. Everybody just seems a little bit grumpy and a little antsy and like they really, really want to punch stuff.
And like everybody trying to make Captain America seem like he like Captain America is wanted now. Captain America didn't do nothing. He just went to go talk.
Yeah.
He don't have to like look. He don't have to reveal his superhero identity. Him and Maria Hill were just having a conversation. So like we got you on the side. Like no, you ain't got me on my side. Oh really? Then they just drew guns on that nigga. Like, like whoa, what? Why did she like? Well, what just happened here? Like, why did this escalate so quickly? What did he say to make? Like, he didn't say nothing about like starting a resistance. He didn't say nothing about fighting against them. He just said he wasn't going to hunt down his friends, and they drew. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is illegal. Right?
Yeah,
Am I,
it seems no.
it bothered me that look. There's a lot of stuff that bothered me, but that whole interaction, I think that's in the first issue, bothered me so much.
It seems like he very clearly had some action scenes that he wanted to hit and didn't really care about motivating them. Like he was like, "Oh, wouldn't it be cool to like have Captain America fight all of the, Shield officers?" And then he's like, "Well, I don't know how to make that happen, so we're just gonna say it happens."
Right, and like, there's no reckoning with like Marie Hill's just terrible. Like I like that
She acts like they were dating. To be
right.
honest, like she acts like she has like this whole other, I can't like I have other reasons for not trusting this guy.
Yeah,
or like I've been looking for an excuse to watch him get his ass beat.
Like, of course he gonna jump out the window. Y'all just drew guns on him for no reason. What rational? What is he supposed to do?
Yeah, it's entrapment.
But I'm gonna tell you, like, my biggest issue is, and I guess this is gonna get into something else, is to me they don't make a compelling argument on why not to register.
Yeah, I don't think they spend enough time on it.
Like, they make a real good argument on why you should register, but the argument for not registering, like there's no real compelling argument. Like I read it like twice this past week. You know what I'm saying? To see if I miss anything. And there's not too many strong arguments. And like the last thing, and I've just been talking forever now, is like, okay, when I read this, right, I was reading everything surrounding it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the new Avengers was going on. I was reading Spider-Man. I was reading like the whole kind of like,
Okay.
you know, the whole, you know, array of Marvel comics surrounding this, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
because it would have been for that summer, like everybody would have had like a Civil War banner on their individual books.
but here's the thing though. A lot of that stuff is really good. And it should have been in the main book. So,
Hmm.
like a lot of stuff that I remember from Civil War isn't actually in Civil War because it's been 14 years and like in my mind it's all jumbled together, right? Which brings me to like the other biggest problem is it jumps from plot point to plot point with no motivations, with no airing out, with no like with none of those quiet moments that you would need. It just jumps from point A to point B to point C to point D and so forth and so on. And it's just missing big chunks of everything. Like Spider-Man unmasking, right? They don't even grapple with that. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Hmm.
like, oh, Spider-Man decided to unmask, and you're asking yourself, well, if you don't read the other books where Tony Stark is talking to him and trying to convince him, you wouldn't even understand his motivation for this. And this Spider-Man, this ain't no like Joe Smo. This is their Superman. This is their flagship character. And like, if you're just reading Civil War, you wouldn't even understand why he did it.
Well, so that's one of the reasons why I hadn't read it yet was that my understanding of Civil War was that it was a huge event and I would have to read like 50 books. And now, after reading the main volume of the event, I'm like, yeah, you would have to read like 50 books in order to make this better.
Yeah, like Luke Cage, right? And I thought this moment was in Silver. I thought this moment was in the regular, was in the book, right? But like basically, he was just like he ain't registering. He was just like I protect my block. I'm an Avenger. But you know who you are. He like, that ain't the point. Like I've been in jail before. I've been quote unquote registered. Like he had very good real motivations for not wanting to sign up. You know what I'm saying? And there's like this cool thing where he sat in his house and waited for the shield agents to come and he messed them up. You know what I'm saying? He beat them up, right? But it was like this real cool thing. But that was written by Bendis. That's probably the thing. It was probably written by a better writer. But like there are moments that if you put in this book and arguments that if you put in this book would make this special. As it is, it's just like you said, it seemed like a reason for the superheroes to fight each other. And like it's like a big blockbuster, but like it's just missing though in between. Like even the idea of the registration happens so quick.
Yeah.
Okay, so so Amanda, what do you think about the insane incident that causes all of this?
Um, I'm like getting confused with the movie and stuff. Oh, right. This was the one where it was was it the New Mutants? The
No, New Warriors.
New Warriors. Okay, whatever. It was some not some unknown reality star fame seeking um oh man.
Well,
What
look,
was it what was the name of the guy from Kingdom Come? The point is it was like next gen sea level uh heroes trying to show off for the cameras and they like accidentally really like fucked shit up and blew up like a playground, right?
they killed 800. They killed 800 people, including like two or 300 children, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing: the New Warriors was actually a really popular '90s comic with these characters, so it ruins these characters. But I guess since they wasn't popular at the time, they figured it was okay to ruin these characters. Like the New Warriors were never portrayed as incompetent before, so it was weird that it happened. It's
Yeah.
it's I don't know, man. It's just a lot. Like there's not like it goes from plot point to plot point. I don't even know where to start. I guess like do you understand Tony's motivation in this book, I should say.
So that's something I wanted to talk about a little bit. Was and I mean I assumed that we were going to talk about this from like the which side would you be on conversation, but I mean Tony, it seems like, is feeling a bit of like personal guilt. And part of that might be because people know who the fuck he is and they can like send him letters and find him and talk to him and like shout at him about things he's not even responsible for. Like, if people didn't know he was Iron Man, why would they be yelling at him about superhero crap? And then he wouldn't be feeling personally responsible for things that other superheroes have done. So Tony Stark is like a super, super rich white guy. He has almost no reason to be scared of the government. So, in his experience, there would be no reason to not let the government know who he is and where he lives. And if the government asks him to do something he doesn't want to do, like pay taxes, he can just lobby or hide the money or not pay taxes. So Tony Stark has absolutely no reason to be afraid of any sort of establishment whatsoever.
Right.
And if he's feeling personally guilty about this situation, he is in a place where he can be like, sure, everybody already knows who I am. I'm the best. And like, now I'm going to, sign up and do the responsible thing to try to address this issue. So I feel like that's the only way I can justify Tony's decisions is by recognizing that he has absolutely no risk in this situation.
What about Captain America's?
I mean, Captain America was essentially created by the government.
Yes.
And it kind of fucked up his whole life. So he knows what people would do with a weapon like him. He knows the lengths that people have gone to try to recreate him. He absolutely would never trust the government to be managing superheroes.
I find it funny, just as a small tangent, that, when people say they don't like Captain America because he represents America, he just like some jackboot like soldier that hurts people. You could tell those people have never read a Captain America comic because anybody who's ever read Captain America know Captain America is a fucking rebel at heart, which is a weird thing for Captain America to be, but that's always been part of his character. Like Captain America, like Captain America quits all the time. Anytime he fight the government, don't did something nuts. You're like, you know what? I'm done for a while. Like y'all tripping, and I love that about Captain America. Captain America is what America's supposed to be instead of what it is. And
he's like Captain American Revolution.
Yeah, right.
Like he's like Captain, like, I'm going to throw your tea in the harbor to like make a point.
Look, and in a weird way, and I can't believe I'm saying this, and I know now that has like it's a negative connotation, but I remember hearing this years ago, like about this particular story about how he is before like this became a bad word. Like he's almost like a libertarian in a lot of ways. Like he's very libertarian. And like, and like I know that's kind of like eye-rolly now, but when someone said this, it wasn't that word didn't necessarily create the fuse that it does now. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. He's very much like everybody got a right to live the way they want to. Leave them the fuck alone. You know what I'm saying? The government should only do the very bare minimum. You know what I'm saying? To invade in people's lives. And that's America. Everybody has the right to live. Everybody can be gay, straight, black, white, or whatever the hell. I judge you by who you are. And the government should not have that much oversight, and he's always been like that, and I love that about him.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the mom in this. I didn't like the mom, and I know that's weird to say because she lost her kid, but walking up to Tony and spitting in his face like this is his action figure, and I hate to say this, like, oh, that's such a Karen moment. Like Tony's like, I had nothing to do with this.
She was so unlikable that I thought she was fake. I thought that it was like Doom had like planted her or like paid her to do that. She was so unlikable. I thought she was like a double crossing plot.
Like to make Tony feel guilty to like
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like I thought she was like a Hydra agent who was paid to like manipulate Tony emotionally so that they could like compromise the Avengers. It didn't even occur to me until like when nothing happened with that later. I was like, oh, I guess she was just unlikable. uh,
And look, she just like, and she's through like the story in these sprinkles, and like she doesn't get any more likable as the story go on. Like when you get to the end, and Tony finally feels like the weight of the goddamn world on him, and like he was like, man, maybe I messed up. It's like, no, Tony, you did good. They was look. There's always some white lady. No offense, man. I know you're a white lady. It's like, well, they was breaking the law, and they shouldn't have been breaking the law, and therefore they deserve what they got. Like, yes, yes, the big tall black man should have got a whole lightning bolt through his damn chest, cause he was breaking the. I'm sorry. I'm just laughing to myself. Right?
no, no, it is. It's like
It's just like just no remorse. No remorse, no sympathy, no nothing. Like the letter of the law. Karen, look, I keep calling her Karen. I don't even know what her real name was. I'm sorry. Like,
she seems like more of a Susan to me.
she, you know what? There's this infograph that says like,
Yes.
you seen that from like 0 to 20, you like a Haley or like something like that. Then like you're a Becky from like 20 to 35. Then from 35 to what 50, I believe you're a Karen.
Yeah. And then after that you're a Susan. It's like the Pokemon evolution of antagonistic white women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then after Susan, you're a Gertrude. But yeah, it's just like it like, and I was just like, am I bringing my own feelings into this, or is she just not like, or is none of this not cool? Because like they cloned the god.
Yeah, no, this is definitely so one of the things that makes this a compelling premise is that it's like looking at kind of like the fundamental philosophical difference between doing what is right, like universally, versus doing what is right according to the law.
Right.
And on the one side, you have the people following the letter of the law and violating pretty much everything that is universally right or good. And then on the other side, you have, the people who are following their own ethical code and doing what is closer to universally right, but breaking the law to do it. And then at the end, the resolution is just like, oh, you shouldn't feel bad about the people who broke the law dying. Like it just seems like the premise is set up to say something sort of profound, and then the ending is just sort of like, well, we got to get back to the status quo. Marvel only gave us a summer.
Well, no, it is not the status quo. Like things changed for years after this. But like, here's the thing, right? It's just like Tony never had that revelation, like that real revelation, like Cap had in that moment, right? You know what I'm saying? Like Cap was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is wrong. Like we shouldn't be doing this. We are like hurting people by us fighting. Let us stop." You know what I'm saying? Which is the right thing to do because he's Captain America, and God damn it, we love him. Well, you know what I'm saying? He knew at that time, at that moment, like this has gone too far. He had that revelation. Tony, in my opinion, never really had like that same revelation. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe Cap had a point to a degree, to a degree. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like another thing I wonder, this book was written in 2006. Pre Robert Downey Jr. Tony Stark is a lot different in the comics, huh?
Yeah, a little bit.
like that's what struck me. Like, oh, this Iron Man ain't really that quippy. This Iron Man ain't what I like. We had this conversation as like Iron Man in the comics now is just Robert Downey Jr. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? This is before Robert Downey Jr.
Well, and it's funny because I was going to say that something that the movie made a little bit more compelling was in the, and we can, you can shut down movie talk after this if you want, but like Tony and Spider-Man having like a mentor-mentee relationship doesn't make it makes sense in the current movies.
Right.
It doesn't make sense in the comic books. Spider-Man always seemed more closely aligned with Captain America in the comic books.
And not just
so,
that. Oh, go ahead.
So I was gonna say, so like that story that isn't included in the main Civil War book that you were talking about, where like Tony has to convince Spider-Man to register and reveal his identity, like that had to have been a much more elaborate story. Like it wouldn't.
Right.
The current Marvel Cinematic Universe sets up their relationship more naturally.
It's still a little wonky, but it is. But we're gonna table that because we're gonna get to that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, there's a lot, right? Like you know, Spider-Man had like this whole new suit. Tony gave him that new suit. You know what I'm saying? But you don't know that he just starts with this weird gold suit with tendrils on it. You know, so like there is a lot there. Not just that, Spider-Man has always been his own man. You know what I'm saying? He's been a superhero since he was 15. And like the idea of like Spider-Man being like not lacking necessarily to Iron Man, but looking up to Iron Man has always been weird because Spider-Man has always been his own man. Hell, he's the biggest hero they have. So it's weird that they kind of sort of sideline him a bit in this book. You know what I'm saying? To almost sidekick status. Like it kind of bothers me a bit. Bring up the fact that like Hank Pym and Reed Richards and Tony Stark do stuff that in the regular world would make them war criminals and unredeemable in everybody's eyes. Like they do several things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like Marvel let Mark Miller destroy these characters. Like I want to make something clear. When a comic book writer write a giant event, it's not his idea. It's never his idea, right? I remember with what was that? What was the one? Hydra Cap, right? Everybody jumped down. Who wrote that? Amanda? Who?
Oh, I don't even remember.
But everybody jumped down his throat. What was it called?
Nick Spencer.
Nick Spencer. Yeah,
Secret Empire.
Yeah. Secret Empire, right? Nick Spencer's Secret Empire, and it was just like we include folk posting pictures of like women and men with jackets that say "fuck Nick Spencer." He just got the writing assignment. Like he, like it wasn't his idea. Like the writers don't go to people like, "Hey, I got this idea to tear the whole universe apart." So like, while this may not be Mark Miller's idea, though, getting to the point, I don't like maybe 60 to 70% of Mark Miller's writing, cause he writes his characters very ugly and very unlikable. And like the only reason these characters aren't even more extreme is thank God he had an editor, but all his like weird tropes are there. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion, like everybody's just hardcore, everybody's freaking extreme, everybody's super unlikable, because that's quote unquote the real world. These heroes would be unlikable. You know what I'm saying? These people would be kind of unlikable. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to say I don't think the writing is very good. Yes.
I think it was a difficult task, and I mean, I feel like despite all of the constraints, it still could have been a little bit better.
Yes. Like there's a lot of things they could have did that they didn't do, and like I said, we didn't even get into a lot of meat of this story, but yeah, like the fact that they kill a black guy. Like, why would you kill the black guy?
I was gonna say one of the things that pissed me off was that they used the shit out of Cloak and Dagger's cloak. Like that was their fucking like, oh, we're gonna, do sex machina this fight and just like evacuate everybody with Cloak. And he wasn't even like a fucking character in the book.
No.
Like he didn't get any dialogue. He was just used. And I was like, come on, man, come on.
Then, like, Mark Miller has been blamed for, like, being sort of racist and sexist before. Now, me, I don't like to make those claims because, like, I've never been down with, like, trying to assign that to people. You know what I'm saying? But he does kill the black guy, and he's the only person that dies. Well, besides the children, but like he's the only person that dies. And like the argument was, well, he's that not known character. Well, there's a lot of not known characters that was white. You didn't have like at this point, right? It's 2000. Well, it's back then it was 2006, right? But everybody knows the trope. I feel like once everybody knows that trope and how racist it is, that trope would no longer be used. Like you think you would go out the way not to kill the black guy unless you just absolutely have to. You didn't have to kill Bill Foster. You could have killed somebody else.
Yeah.
And but nope, Bill Foster. And like Tony's like, yeah, I knew him from years. And Hank Pym, like, yeah, he was one of my best friends. All this size and technology, and like it just brushed over the fact that like Tony and Hank just killed one of their closest allies and friends for like decades. And it's just like, I don't know, but yeah, like they do a lot of irredeemable stuff in here. Like like why isn't nobody in jail for the fact that they cloned the Thor? Like there has to be rules against that in any universe, right? You would think.
Yeah.
Then like they reactivated him.
Yeah. No, that was bizarre. Yeah.
Then they used the villains, and it was just like I still don't know how Tony came back from this. I guess it just takes like $1 billion movie for like I don't understand how he came. Like Iron Man, Reed Richards, and Hank Pym should be like should be villains of like the Marvel universe at this point. Like just and I do like the one beat with the Punisher. I do like the Punisher thing.
Yes.
That
The Punisher was probably the bright spot of this whole thing.
Who would have thunk it, right?
Yeah.
That was
because I mean, and it's very thematically it makes so much sense because we're talking about like doing the right thing beyond the law.
Right.
So clearly you got to bring him up, and people are like, "Oh no, like we don't want to be like that." And it's like, well, then what do you want to be like if you don't want to be like the Punisher?
Right. Then like when he killed those two villains, it like kind of like, oh, that's right, we can't do this. You know what I'm saying? I like the beat of like he like fight back, and Captain America and Punisher was like, no, not against you.
Mm-hmm.
So even though he's a psycho killer, he holds so much respect for Captain America that he's just gonna sit there and take that ass whooping. Like that says a lot about him. That says a lot. Look, him killing those villains, him helping Spider-Man, him not fighting against Cap, says more about his character than like he has a more full, well-rounded character and character arc than anybody else in this damn story.
You know what? I think at a minimum, he's the character who's thought about what he's doing.
Right.
At all.
Exactly. Okay, so Amanda, like before we wrap this up, let me ask you, honestly, if this was real, because like they want to bring real world politics into this,
mm-hmm.
Whose side would you be on?
I would say that while I understand the benefits of registering superheroes so that they can be found and, responsible and trained or whatever, I, at this point in my life, would not really trust the government or a private organization to handle that without, exploiting access to superheroes or manipulating them or, I don't know, going after only the black guys. I could just imagine them being like, oh, hey, like you're a trust fund brat who bought like an Iron Man type suit and you fight crime. That's fine. Oh, hey, you're Luke Cage and you fight street level crime in compromised communities. Hell no, we can't let you do that. I just I wouldn't trust the government to implement it, so I'd have to say that no, I wouldn't support it.
Oh wow, this is interesting. Cause I'm 100% pro registration. Like,
Cool.
like not even there's not a thought in my mind. Like there's no hesitation. Like I know there would be bullshit that comes with it.
Hmm.
But like you gotta understand something, man. If I take the whole history of Marvel and DC and all these superhero comics I've read, right?
Yeah.
And you ever been asked that question, that child is like, oh, what universe would you rather live in? Yeah, right? I
Yeah.
don't want to live in neither one of these places. Cause like, yeah, the tone of it don't make it seem like it, but these are nightmare places to fucking live.
Yeah.
These are nightmare places to live. New York get destroyed every other week. Innocent people die all the fucking time. Good guys become bad. Bad guys become good. I read a comic where the Beyonder went to a town and completely bleaked it out of existence because he felt like it. The Hulk destroys all this property. People, like, if superheroes were real and unchecked, hell, even though it was real and checked, but superheroes was real, and, like, there's a lot of superheroes in Marvel, right? And these people fighting all the time. Amanda, you, me, everybody would be on edge all the fucking time if this was real. Like, like just think about that for a second. Spider-Man in the comics is between 25 and 28 now, right? That means he's been
Yeah.
a superhero at least 10 years. So there was a 15-year-old kid running around 10 times human strength, space age fabric for swinging, can pick up Buicks, everything else, right? With no
Yeah.
training. And the only and like the only grace of God that he's never accidentally killed any innocent person is because just the writers didn't want that to happen, right? But if you're a police officer, you gotta be trained. If you're a firefighter, you have to be trained. If you want to do anything, like Amanda, you're a very smart lady. Your job, then you had to have then you had to have like certain certifications to do what you did for at your old job and all that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just don't hire any asshole off the street that say you're a mathematician. Like anything you do, if you want to be an electrician, you have to train. Of course, you got these people walking around that are human nuclear bombs, some of them. You need some oversight on that. There's no way the fuck this would ever be okay. Cause just think about it, if you walking out of Starbucks and fucking throw fucking Loki through a damn wall, or like the Hulk comes through and smashes your car. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a million bad things that can happen. So the idea of a superhero team in a superhero team in every state, everybody is trained by other superheroes. Everybody know what they're doing. They are organized.
I mean,
Seem like so much. Again, there would be bullshit that comes along with that. I understand that, but I think the alternative is way worse because they basically all vigilantes and they're working on the honor system. Fuck that. I don't need the honor system because people are.
well, so here's a few things. So I am not against letting superheroes have access to training and resources. Like, I'm not against. I also, I mean, I alluded to this earlier. The real answer is to make sure that you only need superheroes for supervillains. So like, take so beef up your normal crime fighting forces. If give incentives for superheroes to like join their local law enforcement or whatever. So like, I feel like there are ways to like help superheroes become legit without kind of like making a database that the president can search for and then send people out on missions if he wants to. while blackmailing them, with regards to like their legitimacy and information he has about their families. So like it's sort of like it's sort of like I don't want to make this like super political, but this is a little bit like the abortion debate where it's like, hey, if you really didn't want there to be abortions, you would hand out condoms. So I'm kind of like that. Like I'm kind of like, hey, look, I don't want superheroes to kill people. Therefore, let's help them fight crime and give them resources and do all of that stuff so that like they don't need to kill innocent people. I don't know.
Well, no, I think it ain't so much about killing innocent people. It's just the fact that like they basically do what they want unchecked.
Yeah.
Like you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And like you're right, the government is. Look, I'm gonna tell you something, y'all. Look, America is bad, but America is the greatest fucking country in the world. And I'd rather live here than anywhere fucking else. And I'm black. I am a 35-year-old black man that just seeing a dude get killed while jogging for no fucking reason. And I'm saying this, I'd rather live here than anywhere else. And like things would be bad, but like I just can't imagine the world where like there's a guy with knives coming out his hand where it'd just be cool that he just runs around bisecting people. It's okay because he's a good guy.
Yeah.
That is fucking terrifying. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, like you said, we could complain about the government, and we should, especially for who we elected. I don't want to get political, but you know what I'm saying? Obviously, we can be fucking idiots too. But just the idea of just like people running around with that much power unchecked and unanimous, that is terrifying in real life. In comic books, it's a little different. Of course, in comic books, I'm on Captain America's side, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they want to make this political and quote unquote real world politics into this. I've thought about this long and hard. I was just like, I live in Atlanta, and every time I had to go into the city or step outside my door, there's a chance that like rubble might kill me, or I might get stuck, or like the Green Goblin has a real bad day and throw a pumpkin bomb into an Applebee's. And next thing you know, him and Spider-Man come flying through, and it's just like I said, it's bad, man. It's just like I just don't see why you wouldn't. Like you know what I'm saying? Especially if they gonna pay you, give you health care, because if you're a superhero, you know what I'm saying? They like that all that comes later, but all that is taken care of. You know what I'm saying? They give them money. They very organized. They give them all the resources they need to be successful. But it's a comic book, so you gotta keep the drama. So eventually everything goes to shit. You know what I'm saying? But like, yeah. So like, just for me, I think I'm. I can't believe I'm saying this. I think I'm strongly pro registration. If this was real, and there was like 1,000 superheroes running around, I think I'd be pro registration.
Well, I guess I'm just gonna have to kick your ass in the airport.
I guess so. So look, and look, it's the same thing with mutants, right? Everybody like, oh, the mutant. Like, look, I love X-Men. X-Men my favorite superheroes. Like, yeah, them niggas should be registered and tagged. Like, yeah, they should. Like,
Oh
like
my gosh.
what? I'm just look, man.
No, no. I mean, like, it's not. It is a nuanced problem. That's the thing is like the premise of this is
It's very
pretty
new,
compelling.
but
It's just
it's handled in the most ham-fisted way possible.
yeah.
But like, okay, so do you understand why this is a classic?
Yes, yes, I understand why it's a classic. And I also can imagine that the supplemental stuff that was going on could make the story more compelling. And I also appreciate that part of this would have been the experience of being a comic book reader at the time, which I wasn't yet.
Right.
But I do appreciate kind of like the energy that comes up. Like I'm thinking about Hoxpox this past year.
Right.
Hickman's X-Men stuff where people were just everyone was excited about it, everyone was talking about it. You would go into the store and everybody would hang out and talk about it. So I can imagine that the kind of collective experience of like no matter what Marvel books you were reading, being part of this event also made it sort of like a bigger deal.
Right. So Amanda, I guess that's our thoughts on Civil War. So I guess we should get into the adaptation of this story,
Hmm.
and my opinion, a better story. 2016 Captain America Civil War, written and directed by by the Russo brothers. I seen this a couple of days ago, right? And in my
Hmm.
opinion, I think it's better than the comic, which I usually don't normally say. But in this particular case, I believe like this adaptation is way better than the comic. Even though they do a lot of, they do some Mr. Fantastic side stretching to make the premise work. But man, excuse me. What do you think of Captain America Civil War the movie?
Um, I think it's pretty good. I remember really enjoying seeing this one in the theater.
Right.
Um, I remember so going back to it this past week, I realized I had kind of like split it into two movies in my mind, sort
Mm.
of the story around Bucky and then sort of like just all of the fun action beats. Because I mean, this movie, it introduced Black Panther, it introduced Spider Man. It was you got to see Paul Rudd and Ant Man right after he was introduced in his last movie. Like you got to actually watch Wanda and Vision fight.
Right.
Like there were a lot of really fun moments for the whole universe. And I don't think I appreciated that this all happened in the same movie in retrospect.
There's a
And I
lot. Yeah.
didn't, and I also didn't appreciate that they happened in the Bucky movie. So, uh, no, I mean, it's definitely enjoyable to watch, but I think a lot of that comes from it being in the context of like the whole Marvel universe.
So do you think it's more compelling than say the comic?
Absolutely. I think that it still has like some issues, but I think that the characters feel their motivations are a little bit more realistic and also slightly more explicit.
Right. And like this movies and like I guess I didn't appreciate it at the time. Like you know what's weird about these movies? These movies not gonna affect us. These movies are gonna fit the kids, right? Like these
Mm.
movies are gonna be like their Star Wars. Like Star Wars is not even kid Star Wars. Like the Marvel movies are kid Star Wars, right? So watching it this time, I don't appreciate everything they're doing. Like Tony and Steve, like the sides they take makes absolutely sense if you watch the last couple of movies, right? You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like you know what I'm saying? Of course Steve would be against this because in his movie everything that happened with Shield, you know what I'm saying? Shield being like being like basically ran by Hydra. Of course he would want government oversight because of everything that happened to him. And of course, Tony would take the side registration and be kept in check because he created Ultron, which almost destroyed the world. Like you could understand both why both of them are doing what they're doing, and unlike the comic, it's a lot more grayer in my opinion. In this one, I feel like they make more of a compelling argument for both, in my opinion.
Yeah. And they also brought up like they also brought up some of the characters chose sides just based on like loyalty.
Right,
Like Black Widow was just sort of like, no, the Avengers are my family. Like I just want us to stay together,
right.
which is a motivation that isn't even like mentioned as a possibility
Hmm.
in the comic. Um, and then yeah, no,
And then when
there were
she
a range of motivations were shown.
And then when she turned and helped Captain America, that also makes sense because her and Cap are real close.
Yeah.
So like both of her turns make complete sense within the context of this story, right? So like you have and look, the angry mother makes a lot more sense because you know why? Tony did have a direct cause of Sokovia. You know what I'm saying? That was
Yeah.
his fault.
And you also see how emotional he is because he has almost like a triggered reaction like when she reaches into her bag.
Right.
And he's like, oh no, like he has PTSD, like he's fully expecting her to like attack him. Like you know that he's like really affected by it.
Right. That, like, apparently him and Purple Pops broke up between movies. So
Mhm.
there's just a lot going on with him, and you can see it in his face. He's reliving like old family memories from the night his parents died.
Yeah.
So like
Well,
there's
and the other Iron Man movies showed like he was just going through a lot.
yeah, exactly. And like you got Steve, he's already a man out of time. He just found out that his best friend from damn near 100 years ago is inexplicably alive. Also,
Mhm.
he lost the love of his life. Like there's a lot going on with him. So you then like dealing with everything with Shield. Like so you could understand where both of these dudes are coming from, and you just like, and you looking like, I don't know what side do really choose in this one. And like unlike the comic where I had like a clear sight, in this one I just like fuck it, just let them fight. I don't know. I just go whoever wins. Cause you don't want to really pick a side. Like Tony is nowhere near as monstrous in this movie as he is in the comic. Like he's nowhere near as like bad. Like
Mhm. It also seems a little bit. I feel like because the presence of Shield wasn't as significant,
right,
it kind of removes my big complaint, which was like, who did they think was going to stop the superheroes?
exactly.
Um, Although, I mean, like that is still there. Like, what was the UN gonna do if they didn't go along with it?
Well,
Like, say mean things to them?
well, to be fair, everybody's pretty human in the Avengers except for Vision. Like this version of a Marvel universe is far more weaker. And I don't mean that in a
Yeah.
bad way, you know what I'm saying? But like besides Vision, everybody else is kind of human.
Hmm.
Like even Wanda, like a bullet would kill her. You know what I'm saying? Like the only one you really have to worry about is Vision. Like everybody else is just a
Yeah,
man.
and Vision is like lawful good, so you don't really have to worry about him.
By the way, best thing about this movie got nothing to do with Spider-Man and Black Panther. Is Vision in the card again. I can watch that all day.
Mm. Yeah.
He had like a suit on. I'm like, oh, this is adorable. This is adorable. So so yeah, so we should like, I guess we should talk about like the two like,
Well, so I kind of want to bring up two big elements that were in the comic that aren't in the movie.
okay,
So the first is just like the role of like the Fantastic Four
mhm,
were kind of like an organizing influence in the comics
mhm,
and sort of like I I want to say I feel like they did feel I didn't miss their absence. I didn't miss like I don't know. I feel like the loyalty part that we were just talking about with Black Widow was maybe inspired by Sue,
mm,
where, you know, she was on her husband's side through a sense of like duty, but and ultimately ended up on her brother's side after he got his ass whooped.
yeah.
And then ultimately went and visited her ex and asked him to come help. Um,
That is not her
but
ex, but yes.
whatever.
Well, yeah, I know what you said. Oh, yeah, you talking about the Namor part, right, right.
Mm, yeah. Um, but the other thing that I feel like a lot of people even commented on when the movie came out was we don't have Thor.
Right.
I mean, thankfully we don't have horror clone robot Thor, but like we didn't have Thor at all. And that's really the one where it's like really because you were just saying that like this Marvel universe is closer to human, but Thor ain't. Like
Yeah.
you're going to tell the god of thunder that he can't do what he wants and he has to like what he doesn't have a phone number, right? Like, what are you going to write down? How
Hold
are
on.
you going to find him? How are you going to tell him what to do?
Time out. Time out. I want to go back to the comic, right? Hercules was on Cap's side. Who the fuck gonna tell Hercules what to do in Marvel Comics? Hercules is a
Yeah,
little guy.
yeah, yeah.
Like, why is he even fighting in this? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Amanda.
But it's just I feel like having the god level hero's presence sort of drives home the whole point of like, well, how are you going to enforce this? Like, what are you going to do? How
Right.
do you make how do you make that person like acquiesce to your will? Um, Aside from making a compelling argument. But I know that a lot of people were like, where was Thor during this?
Doing God shit. Just like
Yeah.
I need like a very big like sometimes like people not helping each other in these movies do bump against each other, but Thor not helping makes sense because like he has his own like shit to deal with in Asgard.
Yeah.
But like what they did in this, what they did in this, and what makes this better than the comic, in my opinion, is like all the shit we said about Tony, all the stuff we said about Steve, is those small moments or those character building moments that's not really in the comic.
Yeah.
Which is weird because this is only a 2.5 hour movie. They had 7 issues, and like those moments are just not like in that book. Like it's just one plot point to the next plot point. This they slow down, they take their time, they have a nice long conversation. They have a couple of nice long conversations about it, right?
Yeah.
And like again, and you can understand everybody's side. Like I said, I think what they used to get us there may be a little wonky. Not like what Wonder did, that makes sense, right? But
Mm.
more of like when Thunderbolt Ross come in and say, "Oh, you people have been unchecked," and he been showing all the other movies. Well, basically, he's just showing like on the screen. I'm like, well, ain't none that they fault though. It's an alien invasion. What the fuck was they supposed to do? The shield shit ain't they fault either. What was they supposed to do? The only one that's actually they fault is the Sokovia one. Like all this other stuff is completely justified on why they was there. But he was using it as an example.
Well, I think there's also a little bit of the implication, and they even say this in the dialogue at one point, that like superheroes invite supervillains.
You know what? I love that speech that Vision gives about that. He was like, "We invite this shit. We get stronger and escalate. Our problems get stronger and escalate." Go, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like Earth has a watcher. Does every planet have a watcher? I think it's implied that Earth is like a little bit significant and invites attention.
Right. But I also love that from the comic, and like it's a running joke in a lot of Marvel comics now that if the Watcher shows up, shit don't got bad. Like,
Yeah.
oh, who's the bald dude? And like the people who know are like, oh shit, like, so this ain't gonna be a little skirmish. This ain't gonna be like a little fight, huh? Because when you can see the Watcher, that means it's bad. But yeah. So what was I gonna say? So I think we should talk about the two debuts in this movie.
Hmm.
So who you want to do first? Spider-Man and Black Panther.
Black Panther.
Black Panther, the most magical of magic Negroes there is. So Amanda, I bit of controversial opinion about Black Panther in this movie.
Okay.
One hand, I don't want my characters to be perfect.
Right.
Like you know what I'm saying? I like because I feel like they're almost as racist as having them be completely weak or die first. You know what I'm saying? And like the Black Panther takes no L's in this movie. But also Amanda, with the same contradictory in my mind, I I I don't want Black Panther to be a little weak either. So it's awesome that he whoops everybody ass he come against. But so I don't know how it feel. Look, what I'm saying is I'm never happy. Is what I'm saying, Amanda. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
But but he's so cool in this movie.
Yeah.
He's so damn cool in this movie. Maybe a little too cool. Like, I feel like this is the problem people have with Batman that I don't have. It's just like, oh, he's always there. He's always there. Like no matter what. Like when Tony went to go find Steve at that abandoned base, and just to see, like, of course he's behind him, following him, cause you can't get rid of this dude.
Yeah.
And I just love, like, the whole movies is him beating up Bucky.
Mhm.
Like, Bucky didn't win none of those fights,
Yeah.
and he's just the coolest dude in the room. He's just awesome. I think, yeah, that was a really good debut. What did you think of Black Panther, Amanda?
Oh, I mean, I wasn't really familiar with the character before the movie, and uh, I just I was so psyched for the Black Panther movie after this debut. I was just like, holy shit! I'm like, this guy is incredibly badass and incredibly cool, and I also desperately wanted more of his guards. Um, uh, the was it her name Okoye?
There wasn't Okoye. That was another one. But yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I was just like, ooh, I'm like mysterious female assistants who are like ridiculously badass, and I was like, I wanted her to fight Black Widow so bad.
Moved or be moved. No, my
Yeah,
favorite part was because I'm a man, was like Black Panther walked up, he looked at both of them and he smiled like, "Hi, chick fight." Like, but we can't do that right now.
yeah,
It was
um,
very James Bond like, you know what I'm saying? How he walked up like, "We can't do this.
yeah,
As much as I would like to see this, we cannot do this right now."
yeah. No, it's just there was a whole, and I think what was exciting about it was it kind of alluded to like we talk about the different Marvel movies. Some of the side ones sort of have like their own themes. Like the Ant-Man movies are like crazy caper heist movies, and like the Captain America movies are more like
Espionage.
spy action movies. And I was just like, ooh, I'm like, Black Panther is going to be like a whole other thing. Um, and it was almost like a sci-fi James Bond vibe.
And you know what? We have to stop and not think about the Black Panther movie, because
Mm-hmm.
like that can color our opinion. I think it is at this point. But just if we could just stick it to this one movie, right? Before we knew what his movie was going to be and how awesome his movie was, right? This is
Well,
a
yeah, but it was just like that little peek. I was like, ooh, I'm like, I am so ready for a whole movie of that.
right, and like he's the wisest man in the room. Like at the end with Zemo, and he's just like, oh, this is what happened when, like, vengeance and jealousy. Like I can't let this consume me. I'm a king now.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, Black Panther, cool, awesome, all great translation of that suit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Very good, like, comic accurate translation of that suit. Like, it's just enough movie embellishments. You know what I'm saying? But like for the most part, it looks like the comic book suit. So with that, I guess we should talk about Spider-Man.
Woo!
Amanda,
Yeah.
it was really fucking weird how he came into this movie. They could think of no better way. Look, you could tell he was added at the last minute into this movie. You can tell that there's a script out there that doesn't have Spider-Man. That, well, like, the script is almost exactly the same except for the
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man part. You could tell they got the rights for that back at the 12th hour. You didn't feel that? You didn't feel that at all?
I mean, I could see that. Um, I mean, I can also see that he's just sort of like wasn't. Yes, he would have been very easy to remove. Um, but I don't feel it didn't feel too.
I
It
mean,
didn't feel inconsistent anyway. Like it didn't bring me out of the movie.
it well, it brought
Well,
so.
and I have another thought actually.
Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
This is like a very like weird observation this time. But when they do the de aging for Tony at the beginning,
Oh, you talking about Less Than Zero, Robert Downey Jr.
yeah, um, was who was the body double for that?
I have no idea, but it was perfect.
Um, I think it was Tom Holland.
Really?
I body language wise, I was like I looked up and I was like, wait, Spider-Man doesn't show up until later. And then the face turned and I was like, oh no, that's supposed to be young Tony. And I was like, did they put Robert Downey Jr.'s computerized de-aged face on top of his? And I was like looking at them and I was like, they look pretty similar, like enough, like that might have been easier than using, I don't know.
Oh no, no, I've never. But yeah, maybe. I just assumed it was actually Robert Downey Jr. and they just like smoothed his face out.
I mean,
No,
his
you,
build like
you're right.
is
You're right.
completely different
Yeah,
too.
yeah, you're right. You are absolutely right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I even think about his bit. You're right. You're right. Maybe it was Tom Holland. Damn, I didn't
Uh,
think of that. But yeah, yeah,
well, it just occurred to me seeing that scene and then seeing Spider-Man later. I was like, oh, Tony sees himself in Spider-Man. So like, I absolutely understand why Tony would be interested in Spider-Man.
right,
Like, he sees himself in young Peter. He's impressed with like what the kid's done himself. Also, Spider-Man is fucking awesome. Who doesn't love him? But like I definitely see his particular personal interest there.
right.
And I thought that that made their connection a little bit more compelling. But you're right; he could be removed from this movie like really, really easily.
Because so here's the thing, right? I think this is the closest where we get to like Tony making a questionable decision. Cause like
Mm-hmm.
it literally comes out of nowhere. He like, well, we need more help. Oh, I got somebody who this can. Look, see, I think the problem is Marvel is so good at building up stuff and hinting at it, like leading up to something. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
they're the masters of that, right?
Oh yeah. I mean,
So
they're great at marketing events that end up sucking. They get people excited about books, and then we read them and we're like, eh.
no, I'm talking the MCU movies, like the
But
MCU.
yeah, but just same thing. Like Marvel in general, they're like get you hyped for the thing, and then you watch it and you remember the hype more than the thing.
I don't know. I think the Marvel movies got a pretty good track record. Thor movies now, withstanding, but
Hey, all right, keep going,
but
keep digging.
yeah, yeah. So but yeah, but they're very good at setting up and hinting at stuff. So it's just weird that Spider-Man comes out of nowhere. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And yeah, Tony been watching this guy for months. Like, whoa, what the fuck this come from? Like, it didn't make any sense. Like, why would you bring this kid, like, 15-year-old kid, to this war zone to fight other superhumans? None of that really, all that is really irresponsible. And I think the reason is just because they got him at the last minute. They had a pretty good script. How the hell can we work Spider-Man into this? We can't really do it organically, so we just gonna have to bite the bullet and just throw him in there. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully all the awesome dialogue between him, Marissa Tomei, and Tom Holland will cover up the fact that this really makes not a lick of sense of what Tony is doing. That was my
Uh,
take. That was my take.
yeah, no. And I can see now that like, no, I agree. But I also think that the angle they were really trying for was that like like Tony is emotionally upset and like he's having daddy issues and like he looks at Spider-Man and he's like, this is my boy. Like he's personally interested in Spider-Man because he sees himself.
Which they expand
Which
upon.
still makes it super irresponsible for him to drag the kid into the fight, but
Right.
no one's making good decisions right now.
By the way, wasn't that awesome? He's like, where you from? He's like, Queens, and Kevin was like, Brooklyn. Like, that's awesome right there. That was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So like no, there's a lot to talk about, but you know what though, to be fair, there's a lot of moments like that, like just Ant-Man just randomly joining, like there's no recruitment like scene or nothing, he's just there, you know. How
Well, but see, that was a callback to the Ant-Man movie where he broke into the Avengers compound to steal something and Sam caught him.
right.
but he like or like didn't catch him, but like he got away. So that was like a callback to like Sam was like, "Oh, I know this guy. He kicked my ass."
So what did you think of the villain, the quote unquote villain? I have actually I have no problem with this villain, but there's a specific reason why. But what do you think of Zemo in this movie? He's not Baron yet, but what do you think of Zemo in this movie?
I mean, I think it says something that my memory of this movie was all of these superheroes fighting each other stuff, and that I had mentally allocated all of the Winter Soldier stuff to like, I mean, I know it didn't happen in the second movie, but like my brain didn't store these two stories together.
Right.
Um, so I mean, like I felt like what made him compelling was that he really knew how to like hurt people personally.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't seem to be as much. I mean, like he could be about mass carnage, but he was really more about like getting to people emotionally.
Right.
And I think that made him a lot scarier than some of the Marvel villains.
Okay, so here's the thing. I don't think he's that memorable, but I remember like this came out the same year as Batman v Superman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people had a lot of criticism of Lex Luthor, right?
Yeah.
But so like a lot of people who was upset that they criticized that Lex Luthor, which is a terrible Lex Luthor. Like, well, look at the villain for Civil War. He's not a good villain either. But I think the point was he was never meant to be like a villain or a good villain or somebody that's particularly memorable. That I think that was kind of the point, right? Like he's
Mm-hmm.
not really the big bad of this movie. He makes the things happen, but he's not really like, you know what I'm saying, the actual
Yeah.
bad guy. Like it's not about him. The problem is with Batman versus Superman, it was a lot about Lex Luthor. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like this, they minimize it because it was never about him. Plus, on top of that, his motivations are a lot more compelling. Even though he's not particularly memorable or kind of unassuming, his reasons for doing it are compelling. Because, like, you know, unlike other movies that try to be deep, you know, I think this movie is trying to say they even in this case, the Avengers create their own problem, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you know what I'm saying? Like Zemo is a problem they created.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And like I think that's super compelling. You know, I think that's really damn cool. And like I said, I get it, but but like he's only a bad villain if you look at him as like quote unquote the villain. But I didn't see it as that. Yeah.
I mean, like I think that's a better way of. I think pointing out that he wasn't like the primary. He wasn't designed to be the primary villain makes a lot of sense. Why my brain sort of like sidelined that whole plot.
And like, cause like you know, it's about the superheroes fighting each other. Like Batman v Superman didn't realize that. You know what I'm saying? It's about Batman and Superman supposed to be fighting each other in the battle of wits and brawn and all that. No, they make Lex Luthor a giant part of it. This movie wisely sidesteps. They're like, all right, we need a villain, but it's not about him. So what can we do to have a villain, but not make him like center stage of this story? And I think they did a great job with that, in my opinion.
yeah.
Yeah. So, what else can we talk about in this movie? Did you enjoy the airport fight scene?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is, um, yeah, that was so much fun. I mean, that's what like that's. I mean, we were saying before, like Civil War was reverse engineered around fight scenes that people wanted to see,
Yeah.
and this movie was reverse engineered around let's let them all fight each other.
Right.
Um, or it's time to let them all fight each other. Let's figure out how that works.
Right.
Um, the other, I will say there was another scene that I've forgotten about in this movie that was also very compelling and burned into my memory, which was the Captain America bicep curl while he's holding the helicopter.
Oh, you remember that, huh?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Oh,
I didn't remember which movie it was in, but I remembered it.
I bet. I bet. I just, you know, I don't know what to say to that's not gonna sound like extremely like, chauvinistic or homophobic. So I'm gonna leave it alone. That's what I'm going to do. But yes, yes,
It
my
wasn't for you.
no, you're right. All I can say is the thing that won't get me in trouble is yes, Chris Evans has very big muscles, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yes.
But yes, it's keeping it classy, Amanda. So what do you think of the Bucky and Cap relationship? Like
Um, I really, I really loved it. Because it goes against the trope of like always rescuing a woman.
yes,
And also, I mean, like Winter Soldier doesn't really need to be saved usually.
yeah. But Bucky does have some pretty hair though. Like let's be real though. Like he could be in the Maybelline commercial. Go ahead.
Yes, yes, he's very pretty. But it's nice to see in such a mainstream format, you know, two guys who are actually friends and, you know, going to save the one guy as though he's a damsel in distress, and to see two guys trusting each other instead of being antagonistic. And um
In a movie filled with antagonism, by the way.
yeah, no, it's exactly, it's a movie all about like trusting your friends or not, and for them to have this one unquestioned bond is like really kind of refreshing. um yeah, I'm happy to see that. I'm happy that it wasn't like, you know, he had to save Black Widow or something,
Right, right.
which would have even been somewhat motivated because they're very close, especially after the second Captain America movie.
And look, Hawkeye went to go save Wanda. Wanda ended up saving him.
Yeah.
Say, oh yeah, Bucky and Cap. Bucky and Cap. I thought that was great. I thought Cap motivations was great. I think that actually should pull us into the ending with the big fight between the three of them, right?
Yeah.
So I've had this argument a million times. Do you feel like what Iron Man did made sense?
Be more specific.
Okay, so people was like, well, why doesn't he use logic? He know Bucky did it, but he knew Bucky was brainwashed, so why would he just go after him like that? And I'm like, y'all can say that sitting in the movie theater, but through what he been through, then seeing like your parents get murdered by the man standing there, I think logic goes out the window, rightfully so. At least, at least for a little bit. Do you think
Mm.
Do you think Iron Man motivations made sense in attacking Bucky in that moment? These are the questions I like to ask.
So I think I think they're consistent with who he is shown to be.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that they make sense.
All right. Well, look. It doesn't.
Like we said, Tony's been through a lot.
Yeah. Well, by sense, I don't mean like you said. It doesn't make sense because like logically, and he knows this. Like Bucky was brainwashed. He's basically a Manchurian candidate. They did have a Manchurian candidate reference in the movie. You know what I'm saying? But like emotionally and what he's been through, is it logical from like a plot standpoint? Of course, it doesn't make sense why he does it. But like just emotionally, does it hold up to the smell test?
I think so.
Okay, okay. Now you seen that meme I gave you, right? I think that's hilarious because like that's honestly the thought I had was like, they're just two grimy dudes from Brooklyn. Like he killed my mom, I know, but he's my friend. They just convinced to beat him up. It's like, you know what? It's kind of messed up now that I think about it.
It was not a clean fight.
But just everybody's motivation, like, it's just like they are beating up a man They just found out his parents was killed by this dude, and they just beating this poor guy to death in this tin can, like he don't ever have every right to be upset in this moment. But again, that's what I like about this movie, though. I think people still chose Captain America's side, like Iron Man was a villain, but I think they would just bring in like their own feelings from the comics. But I think in this movie, it's a lot more grayer than it is in the comic about
Hmm.
who you're supposed to root for in that moment, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So Amanda, I think that's it. I think we both like the movie, right? I think we both can recommend this movie, right?
yeah.
Would you recommend Civil War the comic?
Um, not really.
Okay, okay. Wow. This is like the second big like Marvel like story we don't did where we didn't like where we was like, nah. Like when we did Infinity Gauntlet last year, I don't think people really appreciate us not liking that comic.
I mean, look, there's a lot of comics out there to read. Like this is not Daredevil Born Again.
I, so like
This is not Kingdom Come, which handles a similar situation beautifully.
yes, yes.
Which I have to say, I definitely got serious. Like, did the Marvel editors sit around and go, "We need a Kingdom Come"?
Yeah, you know what? It feels that way. And I'm gonna tell you this. To me, Civil War the comic, um, it, to me it signifies where Marvel start maybe writing stories for movies as
Yeah,
opposed for like comic readers. Kind of like what I said about the New 52. I feel that way. I kind of feel that way about like a lot of the bigger Marvel crossovers past this point, where I feel like this is kind of made to be adapted into a movie at some point. Like even like Infinity War, which we know is based after like the Infinity Gauntlet story, but there's a lot of like the Jonathan Hickman Infinity War crossover in that movie also.
yeah.
So to me this is like where like all the bad crossovers started in my opinion. So yeah. So like you wouldn't recommend the book.
I mean, I wouldn't like tell people to avoid it. Like, if somebody handed you a stack, like if somebody went through the trouble of saying, "Here's a giant compendium of Civil War and all of the tie-ins,"
Yeah.
I'd be like, "Yeah, go ahead, read it." But like, there are other things that you can put on your list ahead of it.
Okay. Okay. And like I think with us, I think what I noticed is I think we like the stories that are a little more personal than like these
Mm,
big crossovers like Born Again, The Long Halloween. I think for us the big stories that we like are a little more even something like Dark Phoenix, right? Dark Phoenix is a little more personal, even though it's like galaxy spanning, right? So I think
yeah.
yeah, like
Well, I also think part of that is what was so fun about the movie were the action sequences, and like it is harder to draw compelling action in a comic book
true, true,
than it is to just show it in a film.
right, right. So Amanda, I think that's it. I think we thoroughly like explored both of these. I got a lot of editing to do, but Amanda,
Mhm.
if they want to reach us and talk to us about what side they would take in Civil War, where can they reach us?
We are on Twitter as Comic Book Club 52. You and I both have personal accounts they can find us. We are reachable via email, comicbookclub52 at gmail.com. And we are also on Facebook as the Comic Book Club.
Right. And Amanda, what are we reading next week?
So, last schedule that I had written down was we were going to do kind of an indie pick from me.
Yes.
We were going to do Ted McKeever's Miniature Jesus,
Yes.
which is just a completely different side of.
In a couple of weeks, we are reading Miniature Jesus. Now, with that being said, I am Jamil Payne,
I'm Amanda Comey.
and we are out.